In the busy market, Miss Kofo shouted, Amoke, where are the children? My son works hard and you do nothing. People stopped to watch. Some whispered, Poor Amoke, no child after so many years. Amoke held a basket of yam tightly. Her arms shook and her head stayed down. Her heart felt like it was breaking. Then Tayo came and put his arm around her. Mother, stop, he said firmly. Amoke is my wife. I love her. The children will come when it's time. The crowd went quiet. Miss Kofo frowned and left, but deep inside, Amoke wondered, why can't I have a child? What is wrong with me? Once upon a time in the small village of Karanta, there lived a young girl named Amoke. She was kind and beautiful, with eyes that sparkled like the stars. In Karanta, girls were raised to be good wives. They learned to cook, clean, and take care of their homes. When Amoke turned 16, her parents gave her hand in marriage to Tayo, a wealthy trader and a handsome man. Tayo was the pride of the village. He was hardworking, generous, and kind to everyone. He was a trader, the biggest in Karanta. He sold fine clothes and colorful fabrics. His shops were filled with best materials, silk cotton, and rich patterns from faraway lands. But Tayo was not always rich. He grew up with nothing. His family was poor. One day, he promised himself, I will never be poor again. He worked hard. He carried load in the market. He saved every coin. Then, he started selling small pieces of fabric. People laughed at him. How can a poor boy sell clothes? They said. But Tayo did not stop. He sold more. He saved more. Soon, he had enough to open one shop, two shops, then three. Now, he was the biggest trader in Karanta. People traveled from other villages just to buy from him. Women admired his goods. Men respected his success. His story inspired everyone. If Tayo can rise from nothing, we can too, people said. Tayo's wedding with Amoke was grand. Drums played loudly, and everyone danced. Amoke was shy, but when she looked at Tayo, her heart felt warm. She believed she was the luckiest girl in the world. At first, life with Tayo was perfect. He called her his queen and gave her gifts. He built a big house for them, and Amoke felt like a princess. But as the months turned into years, something started to trouble her. She couldn't get pregnant. Every month, she hoped, but nothing happened. At night, Amoke sat on the floor of her room, hugging her knees. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Why me? She whispered. Tayo's mother, Miss Kofo, made things worse. She never liked Amoke. Amoke, you eat too much, she would say. You are wasting my son's money. What kind of a woman cannot give her husband a child? Amoke said nothing, but her heart broke a little more each time. The villagers began to talk too. Why hasn't Amoke had a child? One woman said. It's strange, another said. Maybe the gods are angry with her. Tayo was always there to comfort her. Don't listen to them, my love, he said, holding her close. We will have a child one day. I believe in us. Amoke nodded, but deep inside, she wondered, what if I can never give Tayo a child? Will he still love me? One evening, Amoke went to the river to get water. She heard some old women talking. She is cursed, one woman said. She will never have a child, said another. Then they saw Amoke and stopped talking. They looked at her and quickly walked away. Amoke felt cold, even though the sun was shining. Are they talking about me? She wondered. Abeni was Amoke's childhood friend. They had grown up together, playing under the mango trees and fetching water from the river. But as they grew older, their life changed. Amoke married Tayo and lived in a big house. Abeni remained single, struggling to make ends meet. Deep in her heart, she felt jealous of Amoke. She has everything, Abeni thought. A rich husband, a big house. Why does she get it all? While Abeni burned with jealousy, Ranti made her move. Ranti, the widow, was known in Karanta for her beauty and charm. Men stared at her. Women whispered, she's trouble. But Ranti didn't care. She wanted Tayo. One afternoon, Ranti walked into Tayo's shop, holding a bowl of steaming soup. She wore a tight blouse, her glowing skin catching the sunlight. Tayo was busy folding fabrics when she spotted him. Without a word, she walked straight up to him. placing the bowl on the counter. Tayo, she said quickly, her voice low but clear. I saw you working so hard. You need this. Eat. Tayo looked at her, surprised. Roti, why are you doing this? She smiled briefly, her eyes meeting his. You deserve to be careful. Just take it. Before he could respond, she turned and walked out as fast as she could, leaving behind the faint scent of spices and her unspoken intentions. He looked at the soup. It smelled so good. He was hungry, so he took a spoonful. As he swallowed, something strange happened. His body felt warm, too warm. His head felt light, like it was floating. That night, after Auntie left, Tayo sat in his shop, staring at the fabric rolls, but his mind was not on work. He kept hearing Rotten's voice in his head. You deserve more. Tayo shook his head. No, I love Amoke, he said softly. But then he thought about the village, the whispers, the way men looked at him with pity, the way women shook their head when he passed by. A man with no child, how shameful. Tayo sighed. His chest felt heavy. Maybe Rotten is right. He whispered. She was kind to him. She brought him food. She saw his pain. His heart pounded as he stood up and walked outside. The night was quiet, but his thoughts were loud, and in his mind, one name kept coming back. Roti. The next morning, Tayo sat in his shop trying to work, but something was wrong. His hands touched the fabric, but his mind was far away. He kept thinking about Roti, her voice, her smile, the way she said his name. Why am I thinking about her? He shook his head. He loved Amoke. He didn't want Roti, but the thoughts didn't stop. At home, Amoke sat beside him. She held his hand. Tayo, what is wrong? Tayo blinked. He felt dizzy. His chest was tight. Nothing, he said. I'm fine. But he wasn't fine. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Roti. Every time Amoke spoke, he barely heard. One night, Tayo sat outside. The moon was bright. He was fixing a chair, trying to clear his mind. Then he heard a soft voice. Tayo. He turned quickly. Roti stood in the shadows. She wore a bright wrapper. Her skin shined under the moonlight. Tayo frowned. Roti, why are you here? She walked closer, her eyes soft and full of meaning. I couldn't sleep, she whispered. I thought you needed someone to talk to. Tayo looked away. You should go home. But Roti did not move. She leaned closer. Tayo, you carry so much pain. I see it. You work so hard. But who takes care of you? Tayo swallowed hard. Her words felt warm, like a soft hand on his tired heart. Tayo, she whispered. Let me help you. Then she touched his arm. Tayo froze. He knew he should stand up and walk away, but he didn't. Instead, he let her touch him. That night, Tayo and Roti became one. Tayo told himself it was a mistake, but the next night, it happened again and again and again. Whenever he saw her, his body felt weak. Whenever she smiled, his heart beat faster. One morning, Amoke woke up feeling different. She started vomiting and she feels so dizzy. She rushed to Mama Biye's hut, her heart beating fast. Mama Biye, she said, out of her breath, something feels wrong. Mama Biye looked at her carefully and smiled. Child, the God has answered your prayers. You are with child. Amoke gasped. Me? A baby? After all these years, tears filled her eyes as she held her belly. Yes, Mama Ibiye said gently, you will soon be a mother. Amoke was very happy and shocked that tears of joy started flowing down her cheeks. Amoke ran home, her heart full of joy. She touched her belly again and again. There is a baby inside me, she whispered, smiling when she saw Tayo. She shouted, Tayo, we are going to have a baby. Tayo dropped what he's holding and rushed to her. He hugged her tight. Amoke, you are amazing. This is the best news ever. For the first time in years, Amoke felt light, like all her sadness had flown away. She looked at the sky and said, thank you, God. Thank you for this gift. Soon, the whole village knew. People came to visit Amoke, bringing gift and blessing. Even Miss Kofo came to see Amoke. She smiled and said, Amoke, you have done well. You have made me proud. She brought a basket of gifts for Amoke. Amoke was surprised. Thank you, Mama, she said softly. But their happiness did not last. Months passed and Amoke's belly grew, but the baby did not come. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, the baby was still in her womb. By the 5th year, the villagers began to whisper, "This is not normal," one woman said. "No one carries a baby for 5 years. Maybe it's not even a baby," another said. "Maybe it's a curse." Amoke stopped going to the market. She stayed at home, hiding from the stares and whispers. Her joy had turned to fear, and her excitement had turned to shame. Miss Kofo's kindness disappeared. "What is wrong with you, Amoke?" she shouted one morning. "How can a woman carry a baby for 5 years? This is a shame." Amoke cried quietly, feeling her joy turn into pain. Tayo held her close. "Don't worry, my love," he said. "We will find a way to fix this. I won't let you suffer alone." But Amoke shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "Tayo, you won't understand," she whispered. "I feel this baby inside me, but it won't come out. It's like I'm trapped. My body is failing me." Tayo held her hand. "Amoke, listen to me," he said softly. "We've tried everything Iya gave us, but nothing worked. Maybe we need to look elsewhere." Amoke nodded weakly. She was tired of crying, tired of the shame. "Where do we go?" Tayo sighed. "There's another priest in a distant village. People say he's powerful. He can break any curse." The next morning, they left before sunrise, walking quietly through the forest. Amoke's belly felt heavier than ever, and her feet dragged, but Tayo held her hand tightly. "We are almost there," he said. When they reached the priest's hut, smoke curled from the roof, and strange carvings marked the door. The priest sat outside, his eyes sharp and piercing. "Why are you here?" he asked. Tayo spoke first. "My wife has been pregnant for 5 years. We need your help." The priest stared at Amoke, his gaze cold. He nodded slowly and said, "This is not a normal pregnancy." He said, "Your baby is trapped by a curse." Amoke gasped. "A curse? Who cursed me?" The priest threw bones onto the ground, muttering strange words. After a moment, he pointed at Amoke. "Someone close to you is jealous. Someone does not want you to have a child." Amoke's heart raced. "Who? Please tell me." The priest's voice was calm but firm. "Her name is Abeni." Amoke froze, her heart spinning. "Abeni, my best friend?" Tayo's face darkened. "What do we do?" he asked. The priest gave Tayo a small black stone. "Put this under Amoke's pillow for 7 nights." The priest said, "Then the curse will break and Amoke will give birth." Tayo held the stone tightly. His heart felt heavy. He and Amoke left the hut quietly. As they walked home, Amoke's voice was soft and shaky. "Abeni, could it really be you?" she asked. Tayo did not answer. He looked straight ahead, his mind full of thought. That night, Tayo slipped into bed. Amoke was already asleep. Tayo reached under her pillow, carefully placed the black stone there, just as the priest said. Then he closed his eyes and tried to sleep. The next morning, Amoke woke up early, her heart heavy. The priest's word echoed in her mind. "Abeni cursed you." Without telling Tayo, Amoke ran to Abeni's hut, her heart pounding.